Noctilith Crowns. Welcome, gentle listener, I am Baldermort, your faithful servant, and I wish to introduce you to the forces, factions, and features of the Warhammer 40k setting, the grim darkness of the far future, where there is no time for peace, there is only time for war. And today, we shall be discussing a new set of edifices that have become ubiquitous in the regions assailed by the dread forces of chaos. They are beacons of evil, shrines to the dark powers, and portals that permit the energies of the immaterium, the warp, to bleed into any region on which they are erected. Of course, I can only be speaking of the Noctilith Crowns, created from a rare ore that is sought after by near every sentient race in the galaxy. At their core is a considerable amount of Noctilith, that which is most commonly known as Blackstone. An ancient source of power, this substance can be charged positively or negatively. Its roots are in the darkest days of the galaxy, the first confrontation that near ended all life in the Milky Way galaxy, the war in heaven. For the Necrons would use this substance in its negatively charged form, and it would negate the effects of psychic powers by increasing the fortitude of the walls between real space and the dire realm of the immaterium, that which we now call the warp. The Necrons and their Catan masters were always vulnerable to the powers harnessed from the stuff of the warp, so they erected huge pylons of this substance in a circle around the ancient Elder homeworlds. They used it in their war of extermination against the Old Ones, a successful campaign, alas. And they left this all behind when they went into their epochs-long slumber. Yet, in their absence, the universe did not take proper note of these pylons, these ancient proofs of a war long gone. Noted as relics of a bygone age, they were catalogued and then ignored. And it was only upon the return of the creators of these objects that their true purpose was discerned. For the Necrons came out of their slumber to stalk the darkest edges of the galaxy once more. When the armies of the Imperium were holding off the 13th Black Crusade, it was a Necron lord who explained their use to Belisarius Cawl, the Archmagos of Mars. Hence, the Imperium now knew of their purpose, and the secret quickly flew across the entire galaxy. Now, the uses of Blackstone are known to more and more races, and the importance of this substance cannot be underestimated. The Mechanica sent out huge fleets to harvest it. The kin of the Leagues of Votan venture from their safe core territories to collect it, and the forces of chaos hoard it like misers. For Noctilith can also be positively charged, and if this is done successfully, then instead of being a psychic dampener, it becomes a psychic augmenter. With a piece of Blackstone in their hands, the Chaos Wizard is enhanced as if carrying a staff, a Sanan Grail, or a focus of tremendous potence. But this is not its only use. Sometimes, just sometimes, the armies of chaos collect such a glut of it that they are able to expend it in the creation of Noctilith Crowns. And any world on which they are placed, even one, may herald its eventual, if not imminent, doom. Now, as this is very new and hardly controversial in its origins, for the very basics, let us lean on existing wisdom. To quote, Noctilith Crowns. A Noctilith Crown is a Blackstone device polarized to attract the psychic energies of the warp and utilized by the forces of chaos to enhance the power of chaos psychers and to overwhelm other users of the Immaterium's energies. Its potent warp energies can even affect non-psychers once they get within range, assaulting them with nightmarish visions. The presence of these devices on a world can lead a population within close range to have dreams and nightmares that begin to materialize into reality as warp geists. History. The ring-like structures of Blackstone, known as Noctilith Crowns, brought a loathsome new energy to the war effort on Vigilus, during the War of Beasts, early in the era Indomitus. The crowns had been constructed on Nementgast, perfected en route to Vigilus in the guts of Abaddon the Despoiler's forge ships, and raised on the Sentinel world by work gangs of indentured Chaos slaves. Where the Black Legion's master of possession determined there was a site of geomantic significance, the crowns were aligned to the exact specifications of Abaddon's ritualists, and driven into the surface of the planet with long steel spikes. Wherever the Noctilith crowns were planted, the minds of Chaos Psychers flared with a frisson of forbidden power. Those who had any form of psychic sensitivity found strange new phenomena manifesting around them when they approached these sites. Even slaves and Chaos cultists without a flicker of psychic potential were assailed by searing visions. The Noctilith crowns were designed to bring the raw forces of the warp to Vigilus. They had been crafted from deposits of Noctilith stone, harnessed by the Black Legion over the course of their Black Crusades from the Eye of Terror. Imbued with chaos energy and distributed across the galaxy, this too was part of the Despoiler's greater plan to win the Long War. Over the course of the Gothic War in the early 41st millennium, the War Master of Chaos had learned that Blackstone could be polarized either to attract the energies of chaos or to repel it, and that knowledge has informed his grand strategy ever since. Where there were deposits of Blackstone polarized to repel chaos energy, Abaddon would do everything in his power to destroy them. Where there was Blackstone that could be polarized to attract chaos energy, he would seize it and turn it to his advantage. By chiseling into the stone blasphemous phrases and runes in the dark tongue, a sorcerer could align its aura with the dimensional bleed of the Immaterium. Channeling these unprecedented energies using a Noctilith Crown could lead to a tremendous psychic backlash. In places upon Vigilus, more power than any mortal could possibly use flooded into the minds of those supplicants that sought to harness the Crown's supernatural aura. This too served the greater cause, for wherever a psychic disaster struck, the raw stuff of chaos was soon to follow. End quote. Now Abaddon used the Noctilith crowns to great effect on Vigilus, but the Lord of the Noctilith Crown is solid, and adds a new element of terror to the aggression of the armies of the Dark Guards. Because previously, many a demonic force was repelled in the nick of time by closing the gates thrown open at great cost by the sycophants of the Dark Guards. The rituals stopped, the sacrifices taken away. This would mean the end of the warp infusion in the region or planet, and this would be the death knell for the powers of chaos. For they cannot exist in real space without some form of sustenance. Yet, now the Dark Gods can simply bring their own crowns to shore up their assaults. Nasty. Yet, this is not the most important element of the video in my mind, for I wish to go on to a micro-rant about the gaming experience, and I found that this was the perfect subject for the segue. For the Noctilith crowns are very nice indeed. Not only are they amazing models, but they also fill in an ever-depleting resource that seems to be disappearing even more swiftly than I had ever considered possible. The third army on the board, the most important collection when one has at least one fully painted and playable force. The scenery. Now we all know that I am as happy to play against anyone of any stripe, colour or creed, but also that I am certainly not above taking out books, bog rolls and dice and starting up a game on the fly. Why not? But if it is a regular event, down the club, at a tournament, or during a sumptuous multiplayer and part campaign, then surely the cinematic feel, the suspension of disbelief, and the pure aesthetic preponderance of most humans can only be filled with the deployment of what we call a tasty board. Where scatter terrain is in abundance, and buildings and other terrain features are all lovingly brought to a painted perfection that creates the ultimate backdrop to our royal rumbles. Now I have also to admit that this particular element of the game did not matter much to me for entire decades of dice chucking, but now, in my wisdom and through witnessing what can be done, I consider the Third Army, the scenery, to be every bit as important as the forces to charge into one another and take death or glory on the field of combat. And it does strike me as odd that GW seem to have almost given up the ghost to third-party creators. Now many will rise from their recliners and punch in the air and shout, "Nay to thee, O bold blasphemer! GW have plenty of terrain available!" But is this actually true? Have you checked recently? Some is available online, but have you gone into a shop recently? I think you'll see that I'm right. And even when you go online, when you take away the entries for Legion Imperialis, Middle-earth, Age of Sigmar or Old World, or even Necromunda if you are feeling picky, then you can see that there really are not many choices at all, and many of them are so diddy that getting models into them is a thankless task. Looking at you, Tide Walls. So do have a think. The next time you decide to hunt for a purchase, obviously do the first thing first. Ask yourself if you really need any more plastic crack. Have you made up all that you have? Do you have a score of projects always on the go, and none that ever get finished? Well, then realize that you are paying money for more boxes that will not actually scratch the itch. Show some self-restraint and awareness, and just go make some of that pile of potential. But if you are in a good place, where your shelves are stacked with painted models and you want to get something that will enhance your playing experience, you can never, ever go wrong with some more terrain. Because no matter the army you face, the campaign you play, nor the ever-changing stats of the figures in your collection, a good piece of new scenery will never ever be a waste of your time, effort or resources. They can't be updated away, and your games may alter just that little bit enough to feel fresher again. Far more than the addition of yet another tank, troop or hero. Trust in your Uncle Boulders. Deeply consider some faction-specific terrain from a third party, even making the home base of your army, and then challenge your friends to assault it with all of their fury. For this game was never just about who wins and loses, stats, meta and updates. It is about having fun. And you will invariably have even more fun with your battles when they are played on that tasty board. I have been Baldermort, your faithful servant. Hit me with a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and thank you for your precious time. Now, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Toodaloo.